Well, just over a week ago, we spoke here on the show with Dan Steele and Natasha McCarthy, friends who both have young onset Parkinson's, who planned a cycling trip across the province. In part, the trip was to raise awareness for the disease and raise funds for programs for people with Parkinson's on the island. But largely, it was a chance to challenge themselves and for Dan to get back to a sport he loves. Well, last Tuesday, Natasha, Dan, and their friend Paul, who also has Parkinson's, along with 4 other cyclists, left Tignish to start the first leg of their journey. And after 5 days of cycling and 273 kilometers traveled along the Confederation Trail, the group arrived this weekend to a cheering crowd in Elmira. And Natasha joins us now on the line to tell us a bit more about this big trip. Good morning, Natasha.
Good morning, Matt.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
How are you feeling this morning?
As suspected, the adrenaline's wearing off, and I'm moving pretty slow, pretty stiff and sore. But I have a massage booked at 9:30.
Oh, good. How did it feel for you, Natasha, when you crossed that finish line?
Man, it was overwhelming. The people that were there. I mean, almost everybody from our Parkinson's support groups were there, and they were cheering, and they were screaming, and they were running towards us, and so many friends and family, and it was much more emotional than I thought it was going to be. It was quite an experience.
And the end of a long trip. When you're looking back on those 5 days on the road, Natasha, how was it? What was the experience like?
Oh, it was by far the hardest thing I have ever done. Hardest thing I've ever done, probably emotionally and physically. There was some times it was pretty tough. The day that it was hot, the day that we cycled from Hunter River to Summerside, I think that was the day that it was 30 degrees, and there were a lot of hills. And I remember at one point it felt like, I think about a 4 or 5 kilometer uphill battle to get to the 100-kilometer marker. And I know there were times when I thought about getting off my bike, but I didn't think if I got off I'd get back on. So I pedaled, and I admit there were some tears streaming down my face while I pedaled, and I was so hot, and it was tough. And then the day that we went from there to Mount Stewart, it was a long day. It was 64 kilometers, and we made it to Trackety before the rain started. And we stopped in Mount Stewart to have lunch, and we had torrential rains from Mount Stewart to Morale, and it made the trail really wet and really draggy. It was hard to pedal even on a flat surface. So that day, at least, you couldn't see that I was crying because we were too wet.
What kept you going, Natasha, and kept you on that bike?
I just kept thinking, if I get off, I won't get back on it again. And the harder I pedal, the sooner my butt is off the seat.
Right.
There were so many people so excited and cheering for us. I mean, even that day, my minister was on the side of the trail with his daughter in the pouring rain cheering for us as we went by. I mean, how could you give up?
And part of your goal when you were in here in the studio before you left was to raise awareness for Parkinson's. And what kind of an impact do you think it might have for people to see people with Parkinson's doing a trip like this and completing this kind of a journey, Natasha?
Well, I think it's a matter of not giving up. I mean, move it or lose it is kind of what we always say, and exercise is the only way to slow progression. And I say on one of my tags on my blog that I write that, you have 2 choices. You can lay down and feel sorry for yourself and get worse really fast, or you can get up and you can fight it. And that, to me, seems like the only choice. And hopefully this taught people that you can do anything. I mean, our friend Paul that did the trip with us, he trained with us and he did awesome. But we were a little bit worried about him. He's more progressed than we are. And boy, he he inspired all of us. He proved to us that nobody can tell you that you can't do something if you put your mind to it. And he rocked it out. He's my new hero.
Do you think this changes perceptions of what people with Parkinson's are and what they look like?
I hope so. I had mentioned that, if you Google Parkinson's disease, you get this image of this. It's like a cartoon image. It always comes up, and it's an old man, and he's hunched over, and it's got squiggly lines to show he's shaking, and that's part of Parkinson's. I'm hunched over in the mornings, especially when my meds haven't kicked in, and my feet shuffle on the floor, but that's not what Parkinson's looks like for the majority of the people that I know that have it. And I've been blessed to meet people all over the world with Parkinson's when I was at the World Parkinson Congress in Portland, Oregon in September. And that's just not the image that's indicative of what we are. I mean, we've got people here in their 70s and beyond that go and they go boxing. And so it's to try and shift that perception, because there are young people like Dan and myself and the two from Nova Scotia that came and joined us the last 2 days, Carrie and Peter. And, we try our best to stay physically active so we can be well for as long as we can. But even the seniors that have it, that's not the image that we want people to think of when they think of Parkinson's, because there's things that we can do to try and avoid getting that bad. So hopefully it did that, and it inspired people that you can still push yourself.
So raising awareness here, Natasha. How about the fundraising side of this? How did that go?
Wow, the fundraising was mind-blowing. Dan and I set a goal of $2,500, and we thought, that's a stretch. If we made $1,000 or $2,000, that'd be awesome. And I think as of this morning, we've hit about $6,600.
Wow.
Just incredible. It's awesome. I mean, that's money that we're going to use for programs and services for Islanders with Parkinson's, and if someone needs something, and it's just wonderful that people donated so greatly. It's the support we've had is incredible in volunteers, and Dennis, our driver, he was like our glue all week that held us together. He was at every stop waiting for us, and we had people that were coming to the trail and delivering these amazing spreads of lunches for us, and people put us up and cooked for us. It was really incredible.
And it may be a little too early for me to ask you this, Natasha, but are you planning any more trips, or do you need for this one to settle in at this point?
Dan's listening right now, and he's laughing. That it's been thrown around. It's being discussed, and the joke that I have responded to all week was that Dan needs to give me time to forget forget what it felt like to be on a saddle of a bike for 20 hours and the pain that comes with that, and and to recuperate before I start thinking about any future trips. But it's been discussed, and just that it's discussed is wonderful. I mean, Dan said when we were in the studio last week that I, badgered him for 3 years to try and get him active again, and cycling was his thing. And this week, he smiled and he laughed. Everybody did. It was, and to hear him talk about future trips, that's beyond what I ever expected.
Natasha, to you, to Dan, to Paul, to everybody who participated in this, congratulations, and I really appreciate you taking our call this morning.
Thanks so much. It was awesome, and thanks for all your coverage, and it meant a lot. It was great.
Well, thanks for sending us all those great photos from the road, too.
Yeah.
All right, Natasha, all the best. Bye-bye now.
All right, thanks, Matt.
That is Natasha McCarthy, who cycled tip to tip across PEI.